This is a short bite episode of Homeschool Together. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together short bite edition. Ariel, do you have any sheep?
No. Do you have any clay?
No. Can I trade you wheat for stone? Today we are talking about Catan, and not just Catan, regular Catan, but we'll also be talking a little bit about Catan Junior, a game that we got for Christmas. Santa came and brought us Catan Junior for our little ones, and we've been playing a little bit of it, and we've been enjoying it. So we're going to talk a little bit about Catan. So Catan is kind of that, 10 years ago you couldn't find Catan in like a Walmart or a Target or anything like that.
The official title is Settlers of Catan.
Settlers of Catan, yeah.
There's Catan.
Catan.
I mean, we could tomato.
Catan. Yeah, it's right.
Don't hate us.
Yeah.
I don't know. We think it's Catan.
Catan.
I've heard it done multiple ways.
We could just do the name where you're unsure and you just cough. You're just like Catan. But anyway, Catan. So it's a game that you see everywhere now. And
it's really common. It was on Big Bang Theory. We're gonna have to link that clip on YouTube because it's fun and it kind of what we did a very poor parody of it.
Yeah. But basically, about 10, 15 years ago,
it is popular now.
Yeah, board games kind of had this huge resurgence. It was kind of the rise of the nerd culture kind of came in, and board games kind of took on a life of their own. Got really, really popular. And
that's when we started to see these Euro games of Settlers of Catan. And Carcassonne and things started to kind of make their way across the pond. Yeah, and that was right when we met, and we kind of started getting into games together. We were right at that inflection point.
Yeah, great websites like Board Game Geek, Dice Tower, things of that nature. Kind of forums that were built around the board gaming, print and plays, dungeon crawls, things of that nature. Kind of took on a life of their own, kind of came into the mainstream, and we've seen this huge explosion. Some would say a growing bubble of board games, but just kind of this revitalization of board games in general. And I think, we've always said that Catan's kind of that gateway drug for people who are the normal people who,
your Monopoly folks.
Your Monopoly
There's
folks.
Nothing against the Monopoly folks.
Trouble, those type of like traditional Milton Bradley type of games. And then there's the real board game people. And there's the kind of that bridge between the two that if you kind of have this desire to play more board games, but you just like, I go to Walmart or I go to Target or whatever, and I just see,
Well, and there used to really be just these very basic, you had party games and your normal Milton Bradley and Parker Brothers type of games. And then you had these incredibly complex Dungeons and Dragons and some really complex like Risk, and not even Risk isn't very complex, but other war type board games that were very
strategy,
complex.
kind of turn-based strategy.
There really wasn't a whole lot in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's what was such a great thing about this kind of the rise of the Euro game and bringing it over to the United States.
But
into English.
Is Catan a Europe? Was it made by someone?
I believe. Well, it's a.
I would always say these are the
Klaus Tuber games.
Yeah,
so I think so. I think it's a German game, and Carcassonne as well.
Yeah.
Ticket to Ride.
These are the games that
way.
have the Der Spiel Award, the German board game award, kind of emblem, the star medal on the side.
Right, and I don't remember. I think Catan won it in like the mid '90s. So Catan.
So this game's been around for a while.
Yeah, it's been around for quite a bit, but it really didn't become mainstream here.
It was an overnight success 15 years in the making. Yeah.
It really came and became successful. I think what's great about it is one of the staples of European board games that we really like is the ability for anyone to come back at any time, kind of thing. Like you're never all the way out of it. European board games do a great job of ensuring that you can kind of always get back in, which I love, right? I mean, nobody wants to play Monopoly and at some point you just like you get decimated, and you keep mortgaging everything and trying to like hold on to the last bucks until you die. I mean, it's like a slow descent into hell, right? Yeah. So I think what I like about this is for most European board games, the scores at the end end up being fairly close. Typically, like when we play with family and friends, it's usually not like a super blowout. And there's always the
game is
ability to kind of
designed,
get back in,
you know,
to give
like
you second chances.
The Quacks of Clevelandburg is a really good example. This is another game that maybe we'll talk about in the future, but there's this element where that if you're so far behind, they give you this nice bonus and that keeps you in the game, and then maybe that momentum will help, you know, propel you back into the lead type of thing. And Catan's a really good example of that, where, you know, even though you do have a lot of luck of dice rolling, you know, the dice can get hot in a certain manner and that will benefit you. We see this also with Space Base as well, where like just the dice just keep throwing 5s or keep throwing 8s, and then it just pays out for that one person.
This is a really nice, it's a nice mixture of luck and strategy, and the strategy isn't too heavy, which I think is great. So let's get into it a little bit. So for traditional settlers of Catan, and there are many variations, there are seafarers and traders and barbarians and cities and knights, and there's all kinds of expansions, but just the basics, it's hexagonal tiles, and each one has a different number on it, which would correspond to a number on the dice. And then they're all arranged in their different resources on every different tile, and you're placing your little towns and then making them a settlement, and then making them a city, right?
Yeah, city.
You grow them, and every roll of the dice, if you have a settlement or a city that's connected to that number that gets rolled, then you get that resource. So, okay, I'm on the one with stone, so I'm going to get stone every time a 6 is rolled or whatever. So every time that every player rolls, every person's going to get resources. The whole table. I love that, too.
This is a dynamic. I think we've brought this up before, where you and I we really like the games where everybody's playing all the time.
Right. You have to wait for one person to take a lengthy turn and nothing happens. You roll the dice, and we both will get resources if we're in the right place. So it's a great luck element. And then you've got these settlements and cities, and you're building roads between to try to get to new resources and claim new settlements, and you're getting victory points. So it's really great because it's always it can be a random kind of configuration. There's different ways to set up the board, and you trade resources and things, but there's like 5 resources. It's not that complex, you know, and there's a nice easy kind of strategy, right? It can be complex, or you can definitely play some very intense games of Catan, or you can play very light games.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of luck
trading
involved.
element, and so it's kind of like dice rolling, resource gathering, building.
Right.
Very simple.
In order to build a settlement or a city or to build a road, you need to have certain groupings of resources. Oh, okay, I need to have brick and lumber in order to build roads, for example. Or I need to have this other configuration to build settlements. And so when you have those, you play them and you build. So you're all just kind of managing resources. Resource management games are just really great for kids, right? They have to think about what do I need and how do I get that? And then planning ahead, you know, where am I taking my roads? And where do I want to put my settlements? And there's an element, too, of being able to move a robber character. If you roll a 7, you get to move it, and you get to cover up one of the numbers on one of the other tiles so that other people don't get resources. So there's also strategy there, too. Lots of, you know, good number recognition. So it's a great game for kids. And we were talking about this before the show. We're thinking like Settlers of Catan, it's probably 7 or 8 you could probably play. Maybe with a little adult guidance, but it's not too complex. We've played this game. We've played it with a lot of help for our younger child, but we've played this all the way up with grandparents, and everybody really enjoys it. In fact, your mom's quite good at Catan. She's a shark. She's a Catan shark.
She's very good.
So it's just a great game. And then they have made a fantastic junior edition.
And I think that's where it fits more in the line with what we're going to talk about today, is this new variation on the same game. So how is it like? So we've just explained Catan, and actually probably most people listening to this may have played or know of Catan, you know, maybe even have it on their shelves. So what's a little bit different? What's the different dynamic in the junior edition?
So I'm going to fess up, I'm totally prejudiced against junior editions. Before this Christmas, I have been like...
But I did the math for you, right? You always had the issues like, oh, I'm going to buy a game that I can only play until they're 7 or 8.
It's a watered down So here was my, you know, preface, my ignorant opinion about these junior games. I thought, okay, it's a watered down version of the regular game.
Yep.
I'm only going to be able to play it with them for a couple of years. It cost me $20 or $30. Is it like really worth it for me to get the junior? Like, can we just you know, make some of the rules easier ourselves and play on teams or something, and then I don't have to invest in yet another board game that's only going to last a couple of years. This was my ignorant opinion, everybody. Now that we own Ticket to Ride First Journey, which we talked about on last week's episode, and Catan Junior, I am a believer.
You've seen the light.
Hallelujah. And we talked to Danielle at Board Game Babies, and she talked about My First Castle Panic, which happens to be in my present closet upstairs now, because I'm now on the junior kick. So here's the deal. Here's why I think it is great. One, these junior editions are not. This is not Monopoly Junior or Clue Junior, right? They did a really great job of changing the rules in thought and the theme in really thoughtful ways. The game is something that our kids are going to play for, let's see. So our oldest is 5. She'll play Catan Junior until she's maybe 8. She may play it beyond that with our younger child who's going to play it for a few years. These kids will play it together. They'll probably play this game for 4 to 5 years in this house, right? I had a fun time playing it as an adult, so I think that the longevity on it is really going to be good. Secondly, they've just done such a great job altering the theme. So whereas Catan is about you building your settlements in your cities and things, Catan Junior is it's all pirate themed. So you've got your pirate layers and your little ships going between areas, and there's a lot less. There's a lot simpler. It's a single die, so you're not trying to get up to 12, right, with a 2 die roll. So that's really great. It's got great artwork, high quality components. The resources are physical things, so they're not just cards with a picture on it. They're actually little punched out pieces, and they have less resources. So it's just the trading system that they've made is unique. What they did here, I guess what I'm saying is, it's not like we could have taken Catan, changed the rules a little bit, and made this game, which is how I feel about other junior editions.
This is, it may be a junior edition that has similar gameplay as the bigger game, but this is a fundamentally different game.
It is.
You are building
similar
things,
mechanics, but a totally different game.
Yeah, and even the resources are different, and the tiles are different. So when they eventually get old enough to play Catan will not be old. It will be something new. Like they won't have been playing, bricks, wheat, stone, forest, wood and whatnot. Those will not be the concepts they understand. So when they do actually get into Catan, they'll see similarities in the plane of the tiles, like in the ships and then the settlements. But that will be the only thing that is in common with the more mature game. This is really like, I don't know. I don't even know if it's Catan. It's more like Pirates. Parentheses Catan, pirates for children.
It's almost like really... somebody took the best parts of the mechanics of Catan, the resource management, trading element, the strategy of building and managing resources, and they've wrapped it in a completely different game, essentially.
Almost, different theme.
And it's not just the theme. I think they've gone further, like you said, changing the resources and making them more tactile and things. It's going to feel fundamentally different, and that's why I think I've been anti-junior games, because I felt like this is just the same game. They're trying to get an extra
simplified version of the original.
A simplified version of it. And they're trying to get an extra $20 out of me, or whatever, or $30.
But we played it, and it felt like a different game.
It did. It felt fundamentally different,
and as the adult guiding the 5-year-old to play, and she did pretty good.
She did.
It was a little bit too long for her, like at 5 years old. I think this might be better with like a 6-year-old and maybe a little bit above. I think that's what it recommends on the board.
I think that's accurate.
She was able to hang in there all the way to the end. She actually won, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and she won. But she needed some guidance towards the end because she was getting a little burnt out on the mechanics. So maybe a little young for 5 years old.
I think that definitely during this 5-year-old period with some playtime, she's going to be good. I think that this is something it's a great age to get it.
Yes.
I don't know if a 5-year-old will be able to just like snap and pick it up right away. But
she's
it's a great thing to grow into, right?
She's ready to level up her game playing right now.
Right, and we always try to choose things that are, just a bit of a stretch challenge.
That's true for almost everything we do, whether it's books, whether it's activities, whether it's painting, whether it's, arts and crafts, things of that nature. We always try to go just a little bit more, so it kind of pulls her up. And then we let her settle into the new normal. And this is a game that I think would help pull her up into more of a complex thinking.
Yeah, we've played it a couple of times with her, and we'll let it sit on the shelf for a little bit, play some things that are easier, and then we'll go back and she'll get better at it every time she plays. I think it's absolutely terrific. I think if you
it's a good buy. It's a good buy.
Yeah, if you don't own any Catan games so far, and you have kind of middle elementary children, I would buy regular Catan and then see if that's gonna work for you, even with some just basic simplifications. But if you have early learners that are in that early elementary set, Catan Junior is fabulous. And if you already own Catan, I just would say this far exceeded my expectations. I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit and I thought just trying to grease this for more money. But I think this is really good.
Yeah, because the box art is kind of deceiving. It kind of has that almost like isn't the Seafarers blue?
Yeah, I think so. It looks kind of similar.
Yeah, it kind of has that similar look and feel, but it's actually like inside it's a different game. We were actually very surprised and pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely terrific. So if you own Catan, check out Catan Junior. If you haven't heard of any of them, do yourself a favor, buy regular Catan. It's fantastic. It's one of those keeper games that you'll probably have forever. So yeah, highly recommended. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!